What if I told you that the very principles of competition that are supposed to protect the price of your medications have been used to keep the cheaper generics out of the marketplace right in plain sight? Today, we're talking about the pharmaceutical industry. I've seen it all. For nearly 25 years, I worked at the DOJ, where I investigated some of the largest antitrust cases in the country. Now in retirement, I'm working for you. Welcome to the Antitrust Insider. We all know the story. A drug company invents a miracle cure, patents it, and charges a fortune to recoup its research costs. We're told this is the price of innovation. But what happens when the patent, that 20-year monopoly, finally expires? We're supposed to get cheap, generic versions, right? But that's not what happens. The price often stays high, and the flood of cheap generics never comes or is delayed for years. This is the story of how Big Pharma keeps you paying long after their exclusive right to do so has legally ended. They've developed a multi-billion-dollar framework of legal, regulatory, and strategic tricks designed to protect their profits at your expense. Before we begin, I just want to be clear that the tactics I'm discussing today are not mere allegations. They are well-documented strategies detailed in FTC reports, congressional testimony, and federal court rulings. While the specific legal outcome often depends on the case, the overarching playbook I'll be breaking down is a recognized engine of high drug prices in America. Segment 1, Patent Evergreening. A patent is a temporary monopoly, typically 20 years from filing, granted to reward and incentivize innovation. You get exclusive rights to sell your invention, and after that 20-year period, the knowledge becomes public, allowing competitors to create generic versions that drive down prices by up to 90%. At least that's how it's intended to work. The first and most sophisticated trick around that is something called patent evergreening. When a drug's main patent is about to expire, the company files dozens of new patents, not on the core drug molecule itself, but on everything around it. Maybe it's a slightly different crystal form of the same molecule that's supposedly more stable, a change to the pill's coating, or a modification to the delivery device like a redesigned injector pen for insulin or a new twist on the EpiPen. They even patent how the drug is used by prescribing the same compound at a different dose for a different patient group. When the primary patent is about to expire, this is where the generic companies come in. But to enter the market, a generic manufacturer must certify to the FDA that it will not infringe on any existing unexpired patents. So the brand name company, thanks to patent evergreening and its numerous secondary patents, sues the generic maker for patent infringement the instant they try to enter the market. This triggers an automatic regulatory freeze that blocks the FDA from approving that generic competitor for 2.5 years. The brand name company knows perfectly well that many of these secondary patents are weak and might not hold up in court, but that doesn't matter. The goal isn't necessarily to win the lawsuit. The goal is to delay and to create a costly, time-consuming legal battle that the smaller generic companies can't afford. Often, they'll do this sequentially with multiple generic challengers, stretching the patent for years beyond its intended life. Segment 2, Pay for Delay Agreements. What happens when a generic company has a chance of winning the patent lawsuit? This is where pay for delay agreements, sometimes called reverse payment settlements, come into play. Here's how it works. A generic company files a challenge to a weak secondary patent claiming it's invalid. If they lose, they've wasted millions in legal fees. But if the generic company wins, they get 6 months of market exclusivity as the first generic challenger, which for them is an incredibly lucrative prize. The brand name company knows this, and recognizing a potential threat, they make the generic company an offer that is very difficult to refuse.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
The brand name company approaches the generic company and basically says, drop your lawsuit, agree to delay your entry into the market for a set number of years, and in return, will pay you. This can be 1, 2, or even 5 years. Bottom line, this is the brand name company paying a competitor not to compete. The payment isn't always cash either. I mean, it can be a lump sum, but it's often better disguised than that. It could be a lucrative licensing deal for the generic company to sell an unrelated product. It could be a bundle of other products, or it could be a promise not to launch an authorized generic, the brand company's own generic version, during the 6-month exclusivity period, which would all but erase the generic company's potential profits. On the surface, pay-for-delay agreements are a collusive win-win for both corporations. The brand name company gets to maintain its monopoly pricing for several more years, making billions, while the generic company gets a guaranteed, risk-free payday that is far larger than what it might have made in a competitive market. The obvious losers here are us, the patients, and the entire healthcare system, who are denied access to affordable medications, sometimes for years. The Supreme Court has ruled that these deals can be anti-competitive and subject to antitrust scrutiny. Despite that, they still happen, because the contracts and agreements are often buried in legal complexities that make them difficult to challenge. You're seeing in this video how difficult it is to hold massive corporations accountable. But this isn't limited to Big Pharma. This is exactly why I wrote my book, How to Beat the System. I take what I learned at the DOJ and give you a practical step-by-step playbook for pushing back. If you'd like to support this channel and take back some power in your own life, grab your phone and scan the QR code on screen right now, or click the link in the description below. Segment 3, Citizen Petitions and REMS Abuse. Big Pharma has also learned how to circumvent the very regulatory systems specifically designed to protect patients. First is the citizen petition. Anyone can file one with the FDA to raise concerns about a drug's safety, labeling, or approval process. It was designed as a public safeguard and a way for ordinary citizens to hold drug makers accountable. But Big Pharma has convoluted it into their own favor. Brand name companies or the groups quietly funded by them now file these petitions themselves at the very last minute, right before a generic drug is set to be approved. They raise often baseless claims about safety or equivalence. Then, by law, the FDA must stop and review every single petition. That review can drag on for months, sometimes even years. And even when the FDA ultimately denies the petition, it doesn't matter. The delay itself is the victory. Every extra month without competition means millions more in profits. Then there's REMS, or Risk Evaluation and Mitigation Strategies. For certain drugs that are complex or potentially dangerous, the FDA requires these programs to ensure safe use. This often includes doctor training or patient monitoring. Generic companies are supposed to have equal access to these programs so their patients get the same protections. But the brand name companies often delay, deny samples, or create red tape so that the generic makers can't even start testing. Segment 4, Final Thoughts. Big Pharma's playbook for blocking cheap generics is not rooted in a single issue. It's a multi-layered strategy that includes patent evergreening, pay-for-delay tactics, and even using regulatory safeguards like citizen petitions and REMS for their own purposes. Bottom line, this is how pharmaceutical competition gets stifled and why your drug prices can remain astronomically high. The consequences are real. Patients skip doses, families are forced to make heartbreaking financial decisions, and our entire healthcare system bears an unsustainable cost. Understanding how this works is the first step toward demanding change. What are your thoughts about Big Pharma blocking generics, or about Big Pharma in general? Comment below and please share this video. If you found this video helpful and informative, please hit that subscribe button, like, and comment. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay honest, and come back for more Antitrust Insider.